Should you be lifting heavy weights for lower reps, moderate weight for moderate reps, or lighter weights for higher reps? You've probably heard the old school breakdown of 1 to 5 reps is strength-based training, 6 to 12 reps is hypertrophy training, and 15 to 30 reps is endurance training. But is this really effective, and is it true according to the research? But before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe, as I do my best to make easy and digestible fitness content that I wish I had access to when I had less training experience. When I first started training, I was taught the 3 mechanisms of hypertrophy: mechanical tension, muscle damage, and metabolic stress were caused by training in different rep ranges. Heavier loads, mechanical tension, 6 to 12 reps was muscle damage, and 15 plus reps were metabolic stress, the pump. Now, when it gets to the actual science of the perfect rep range for hypertrophy, does the traditional rep range chart we know hold up on paper? In this 2017 Schoenfeld meta-analysis, they confirmed there was no significant difference in muscle growth when they compared high loads to lighter loads, as long as those sets were pushed close to failure, so effort was extremely high. And even studies like this, where they use 30% of your 1 rep max, which is quite light, still produce muscle growth as long as they trained hard and close to failure. So the truth is, the number of reps you're performing on a exercise is less important than the amount of effort you are giving. And why is that important? Is because of something called the Henneman size principle. As you perform daily tasks, you're recruiting motor units. On tasks that don't require too much effort, you're only activating those low threshold motor units. But when you're performing tasks that require high effort, so as you're training harder and you have an involuntary slowing down of muscle contraction, so the exercise you're performing becomes slower, you're trying to recruit higher threshold motor units. And the higher threshold motor units contain the larger muscle fibers. And these larger muscle fibers are the ones with the most growth potential. So if you don't train hard, you can't access those high threshold motor units, so you won't activate those larger muscle fibers. And this is important because mechanical tension is the primary driver for hypertrophy, not muscle damage and not metabolic stress, as we once thought. And the way we create high levels of mechanical tension is by creating those larger motor units. And this all comes down to the force-velocity relationship. The slower a muscle involuntarily contracts, the more force is needed. So when your reps begin to slow down involuntarily, that's when you're creating high levels of mechanical tension. So as you now know, if mechanical tension is high and you have high motor unit recruitment, it doesn't matter if you're performing high repetitions or low repetitions. So now you're probably wondering, how do you know what rep ranges to choose? See, when you perform high repetitions, this will increase your perception of effort and can affect your judgment when it comes to reps in reserve, or how close you are to failure. Let's take the leg extension, for example. If you were to do 20 reps, you'd probably stop 5 or 6 reps shy, but not because your quadriceps weren't capable of doing those extra 5 or 6 reps, but the burning sensation, the lactic acid buildup would just be unbearable. You also wouldn't want to perform high rep sets of, say, 15 plus reps on complicated movements like squats and deadlifts, because your form breakdown would cause failure before the muscles do. So what does this mean in real world application? Well, it's about choosing the right rep ranges for the right job. So it's probably a good idea when performing more technical movements like your squat, bench, and deadlifts to perform sets of 6 and under. And that's generally my go-to. And then when it comes down to most of my other exercises like machines, cables, dumbbells, I generally like to use between 5 and 12 repetitions. Now, when it comes to performing exercises over 12 repetitions, I don't do it very often. But in some instances, I have to. For example, if you take this preacher machine stack or this leg extension where I've maxed out the stack, well, obviously I can't add more weight. My only option is to increase repetitions. So therefore, I'll do over 12 reps. Another thing you could do when you've maxed out a machine is perform unilateral exercises. And this is actually a good idea because then you can make use of the bilateral force deficit. The bilateral force deficit just shows that when you switch from using bilateral exercises to unilateral exercises or single limb exercises, you'll recruit more motor units than a bilateral variation. But again, it's not very practical to do every single exercise in a unilateral state. So for the most part, if I have maxed out a machine, I will perform 12 to 15 repetitions on that exercise. So it's important to know that choosing the rep range is going to be very individual to you and your preference and what helps you stay motivated with your training. For me personally, I've always been that guy that loves training with heavier weights and less repetitions because I've always loved the big compound lifts. Like who doesn't love stepping in a squat rack and squatting some heavy weight? But if you're somebody that likes to perform higher rep sets, there's nothing wrong with that either. And you can still build muscle. It's just about choosing the rep ranges that you enjoy doing and keep you motivated. Because at the end of the day, if you're motivated, you're going to perform at your best, you're going to be able to recruit the most motor units to activate those large muscle fibers, and you're going to enjoy training, which is the most important thing. But to wrap things up, here's a practical approach that you can take. With your bigger compound lifts or more technical lifts, stick with 3 to 6 repetitions. That way you're going to perform quality repetitions without the technical breakdown. When it comes to using cables, machines, and dumbbells, or more stable exercises, stick to anywhere between 5 and 12 repetitions. This way you can train really, really hard, push those muscles to their limits in a safe manner. And you won't have to worry too much about your form breaking down. And then when it comes to using high rep sets, incorporate that on machines where you stacked out that weight, or incorporate those high rep sets with exercises that you're using something like a dumbbell with, where if you go from 10 kilos to 12.5 kilos, although it only sounds like 2.5 kilos, which is not much, it's actually a 25% increase, which is a lot. So on a movement like a lateral raise or a bicep curl, it might be worth you trying to increase repetitions over time instead of weight. And this is where I find it quite practical to prescribe a wider rep range on my training program. So instead of saying 6 to 8 repetitions for your rep goal on that exercise, I make it a wider rep range of, let's say, 6 to 10 or 8 to 12. By the time you choose a weight, and if you're able to increase it for 12 repetitions over the course of a program, I generally find that you're in a safe position to increase the next dumbbell. When it comes to building muscle, it isn't complicated. Just choose a rep range that you enjoy training with, and you train hard within a close proximity of failure, anywhere from 2 to 3 reps in reserve. And then occasionally taking one set to failure, so you can keep that reps in reserve accurate. This is going to put you in a great position to build muscle and strength. So if you like this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're looking for a way to get fitter in 30 days, click one of the links below and join my Fitter in 30 Days email list, which is going to give you 30 ways to get fitter in 30 days. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one.